are live from not so sunny Florida today, a little rainy. Hey everybody, my name's Wes here at ChurchTrac, and today we're talking about Church Connect. Is it a church app? Is it a website? Is it a member portal? Yes, it's all those things. So we're going to be talking about that today. But before I get into the nitty gritty, just a few things. First of all, if you have not yet gone ahead, go ahead, join in that chat. You have to be in Vimeo to join in the chat, not on the YouTube or the Facebooks. But jump on in the chat, let us know where you're located, what your role is at your church, or just say hey. That way we know you're here. We like to make these live streams pretty interactive. This isn't just a me telling you all the things and you never getting the opportunity to participate. So I encourage class participation, okay? So I see you, Jane, Hannah, Padre, it looks like, Jamal, hello everybody. And I know there's a lot of people filtering on in. So before we jump into all the things, just want to mention a couple things. Number one, our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel has tons of videos. I highly encourage you check that out. If you're like me and you like to learn how to do things by watching a video instead of reading, because sometimes reading is boring or sometimes your brain is just tired, YouTube is the way to go. And also, we have a phenomenal Facebook group here for ChurchTrac users. And so if you like to talk to other people that are in your shoes, just like yourself, jump on in the group, say hey, let them know you're there. And last but not least, that help button. Anytime you get stuck in the software, we make it really easy to get help. Just click that help button in the top right of the software, and I'll zoom in just so you can see it. But anytime you're in the software, you can click that button and help is on the way. Whether you get a support ticket going with us, schedule a phone call, or just check out our online user guide to see all the topics. It's all right there at your fingertips. Okay, well today we're talking about Church Connect, probably my favorite feature of ChurchTrac, if I'm being honest. And so we're gonna talk about three things. My goal for you today, really at the end of the day, is to know what Church Connect is, but also know how to build it, and last but not least, how to get the most out of it. And I have some tips for you on that, some helpful tricks that I've learned along the way. So let's go ahead, let's dive in. Let's talk about what is Church Connect. I already said that a little earlier when I alluded to, is it an app, is it a website? It's all those things. Let me ask you this. In the chat right now, in 5 words or less, describe your current church website. So as your church website stands right now, go ahead, tell me in the chat, describe it in 5 words or less. If you need to use more than 5 words, it's okay, you can. But yeah, 5 words or less, describe it. I asked this in our Getting Started workshop. So if you've already been a part of our Getting Started workshops, then you remember me asking this. But I asked this just because I get some pretty wild answers. But it really kind of helps me understand the relationship that you have with your church website. And I get a lot of answers. Churches will tell me that my website is non-existent, maybe because they just started the church, maybe it's a church plant, or maybe they're kind of in between. Or churches will tell me, our website, it's okay, it's slow, it's not updated, it's not really mobile friendly. That's one thing I hear a lot, not mobile friendly or slow. And then I have some churches that when they tell me about their website, they say, our website's great, we love it. We actually just built it a few months ago. So I see some of the, oh man, Lawrence says a hot mess. Oh goodness. High quality but needs work from Melissa. I see non-existent for one, needs a dedicated person. Ebony, that's such a, I see that a lot. Needs a dedicated person to update. So when you want to put announcements on your website and everything, you can't do it. You have to reach out to somebody else to do it. So painstaking, oh man. So it seems like the general thing here is everyone's falling into one of those 3 camps. Either don't have a website, they have a website, but or they have a website and it's working great for their needs. Here's what's really cool, is Church Connect is for all 3 of those types of churches. So whether you don't have a website, you have a website, but it's or you have a website and you love it, Church Connect's gonna work really well for you. Because if you already have a great website, then I encourage you to use Church Connect as more like a member portal and a church app to go hand in hand with it. If you don't have a website, hello, you're going to be building your new website today. And if your website's kind of on the fence where you're like, oh, I kind of want to just throw it away and start over fresh, this may be a good fresh start for you to utilize Church Connect for that. So what I want to do, I just want to show off my Church Connect page and just give you an idea of what you can do with it. And by the way, I'm going to be trying to look at the chat as much as I can. We're going to have a dedicated time of Q&A at the end. So after I go through a lot of this content stuff, we're just going to have time where you can ask questions. I'll answer them live. I'm willing to stay here as long as it takes or until they turn off the lights on me. Yeah, whenever you guys want to, but hopefully later. So this is Church Connect. I've got it pulled up on my phone here. And I actually accessed it by going to my app, which is really cool. So this is an app that I downloaded onto my phone. I click it, takes me right to my church's Church Connect page. And it's built out of what we call cards, Connect cards, if you will. And these cards can do so many different types of things. The first card I actually have is a connection card. And so this gives people the ability when they're going to my church's website/app, they can click here to get connected with us, fill out their information. Maybe they're new, want to learn more about potential church, whatever they want to do. We've got it set up there. It's a form card. I've got another card here. It's actually a link card. So when people click that card, it takes them to a link, whether it's like maybe your live stream for your church. In our case, it is a podcast. It takes them right to that. We've got an online giving card, which I'll talk more about in a sec real fast. We've got come worship with us, time and location. And so if I click that, I can see where the church is located. I've actually embedded a Google map in there, which is pretty slick. Didn't take me long to figure that out. Pretty easy. Other things I've got going on here, need prayer. This is a great opportunity to have that two-way communication. I see a lot of churches, they have good-looking websites, but their website is very much either static or it's not two-way communication. They don't provide an easy way for people to fill out forms or to be able to communicate with them. And so with something like this, I can give people a quick and easy way to submit a prayer request, and I can set this up to where the pastor gets this prayer request perhaps, or maybe another leader at the church, maybe an elder, whatever you want to do. And then another card here I've got, just like an About Us is one that just tells about our church, sermon notes where people can look at notes. But here's the really, really cool thing. So you just saw one half of Church Connect, actually maybe like a third, because I can actually sign in as a church member and do other things as well. So check this out. So at the very top, I was about to like do this, but you can see the screen right there. You can actually click this sign in button on the top right. And as a church member, I can go ahead and log in. So I'm going to log in as a church member. And I'm logged in. If you'll notice, I have like a card that was not there, that's now there. That's record your attendance. So if we had an event going on today, I could actually record my attendance as a church member, which is pretty fly. But I also have this menu to the top left that's available to me. So check this out. If I click this menu, I have access to my profile, upcoming events, online giving, my giving history, or the online directory if you want to enable that for your ministry. And so just to kind of show you like my profile, I've got my profile picture here. Yes, that's totally me. My name's Ron Swanson. And I can update my information, and this actually applies to the people screen, which is super cool. I can update maybe my home address, whatever I want to do, update information on my family. I can update that as well. So really nice being able to give your people the ability to update their contact info and keep things fresh in your database. But as a church member, I also have the ability to maybe, I don't know, view my giving history. I wish I had a nickel for every time people would call the church and say, I didn't get my contribution statement. And I wish I could have just been like, why don't you just go on the app and look at it yourself? So you can actually tell your people, hey, go on the app. You can view your giving history at any time, and they can actually download their entire giving statement just like that. So pretty cool. And then other features here just to show off, we've got the online directory, and so I can see the online directory of my church, and I can also set like whether or not I want to be on the online directory. So we got a lot of privacy measures in place here too for your security of your church and your members. But online giving is definitely a huge one. So I could actually just click this online giving button here, or if I go back home to the page, I've got this giving card that you saw a minute ago. I'll just click online giving. And from here, I can give online. And so I can say, hey, I want to give, let's say $200 to the church and give once. I could give weekly or bi-monthly if I wanted to. Click next, charge my Visa, charge my card, and just give online. Just like that. So that's just the quick, in a nutshell version. I just wanted you to see very quickly like just what Church Connect looks like. Obviously, it works on a cell phone as well as like a tablet or iPad. It works on a computer. It's the same look and style and feel across all devices, except the only difference is when you're on a computer, it'll show actually more cards than just one row at a time. But that's Church Connect very quickly just to show you. Okay. You know what Church Connect looks like. You know some of the things it can do. Now, this is what you're here for. You are wanting to build it. So let's walk you through the process of building Church Connect. Is everybody staying with me so far? Everybody good? Okay. I just want to make sure everybody kind of can see. Maybe those wheels are turning in your minds and you're thinking, oh, I can use it for this, and oh, I could add that card for that. There's so many neat things that you can do with it. And just an FYI, if you want to see like other cool stuff, just check out the Facebook group and look at what other churches are doing, because it's pretty incredible just seeing that. All right, Jamal says, yep, I'm still with you. Melissa's still with me. Good. All right. So let's jump over to my ChurchTrac account. And I just logged out of my ChurchTrac account, I think. Oh, there we go. Still in it. All right. So I'm in my ChurchTrac account. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not. So my team is going to go away from my screen for a second, because I need to re-log into my account. It signed me out. And so I will go ahead and sign back into my account. I had to create a whole new fresh account because I wanted to show you this from start to finish here. And so I'm signing back into my account. Only takes me a second. Of course, you know how it is. Like whenever you're under the gun in a hurry, you start typing in things wrong, and that's exactly what I'm doing right now. It's not that I'm nervous, you know. You just have a lot of things going on here. And then I think I just forgot my password for this new account. Can you believe that? Oh my goodness. Here we go. Almost there, everybody. And I'm in. All right. Woo, goodness. I thought for a second on live TV, I completely just messed things up. All right, so I'm logged into my ChurchTrac account, everybody. And so where I'm going to go is the Church Connect screen, okay? And so this is where you do everything for Church Connect. This is where you set up Church Connect. And I'll zoom in on this just in case you're on a smaller device. You may have a hard time seeing where I clicked. I will zoom in so you can see. Right there. Church Connect. It's right there in the big menu. If you set up your menu where everything's in the top, you'll see it up there at the top. So I'm on the Church Connect screen where I can do all the things. Jamal, I'll tell you about how to get cards to look awesome. Don't you worry. Okay, so first is first. I'm getting this notification here that's saying you have not customized your Church Connect page link. And you may be thinking, Wes, what is that? What is your Church Connect page link? This is the URL that people type in to go to your Church Connect page. So your link, it shows up right here in the screen. I'll just zoom in so you can see that. And so right now, my link is c1bcf3ee.churchtrac.com. So the last thing I want to do as a church leader is tell my people to go to c1bf whatever at ChurchTrac. No, I want to have my own customized link that's easy for my people to remember. And that's why we kind of bother you a bunch to make sure you customize your link, because we really want you to. So this thing will never go away until you customize it. So I can go ahead and do that right now. So let's do this. Your Connect page address. So I can look at that, but I want to go ahead and customize it. So I can go, and it keeps doing that. So I'll click it here. Customize your link. All right, now I can search for a keyword here. So I'm just gonna see church, potential church. I'm gonna call this the new, you know what? I don't want to do something crazy long. How about this? NPCC. Is that available? Yes, it's available. So NPCC is available. So I'm gonna choose that. Yes, I want to add that. And by the way, if you accidentally create one and then realize, man, I didn't want to use that one, I want to use a different one, reach out to our support team, they'll reset it for you. But now I've got npcc.churchtrac.com. So that is the URL that when people go to that goes to my page. So that's the first things first, you want to do that. Okay, now when I go to this page, just to show off what it looks like right now, so I can go to that real quick. I've got these cards here, and these are by default that these show up here. So that's what I've got right now. And it actually pulled in my logo here for my church. And so if you have not already, I just want to reinforce this. On ChurchTrac, if you go to your settings, and then go to your admin settings on ChurchTrac, so settings, admin settings, you'll want to add your church logo if you don't already have a church logo added. So go ahead, add that. Now, if you don't have a church logo yet, maybe you're in the process of getting one created or just haven't gotten around to it, I'd encourage you to use a free photo editor like Canva, or maybe something like Pixlr online. That way you can create a really good looking photo that will be your logo. And we recommend using a PNG format just because it's transparent and it looks really good no matter what color you may change your Church Connect page. So it's not like this big white block square and then you have like different colors. It just makes everything look really slick. So that is the next thing I always say. So first, make sure you get your URL customized. Next, make sure you have your logo put into settings. Okay, so back to Church Connect. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to take a look at some of the settings here in Church Connect. So if I go here to Connect Settings, and I'll just zoom in a little bit just in case you're on a smaller device. This is where I can customize some of the things on my Church Connect page. So I can put in like a main page heading if I'd like to. I can put a subheading, so like maybe if your church, you want to put in like maybe your mission statement or something like that, that's a good place to put it just to kind of reinforce that so your people always see it. I see a lot of churches love to do that. You can change the background color to whatever you want. I tend to recommend shooting for a background color that's on the lighter side. And not going for something that's kind of nuts like lime green or whatever. If your church if your church has lime green as your colors for your church, then yeah, that's an option. But if it doesn't, you'd probably want to keep things pretty tame here. And then you can also adjust the secondary colors. And by the way, you can actually apply the hex code here. So if you have very specific colors for your church branding, then you can actually plug those in here and match it perfectly to your existing church website or to your existing branding that you already have. And then another thing I want to point out here is we have this Connect app icon. So you remember that app icon that I downloaded onto my phone a little earlier I showed? And just to reinforce that, I'm asking my team just to show the phone again because I want you to see this. And so I have this Connect app icon that's downloaded onto my phone. I think everybody can see it. If not, there you go. So there's that app icon. So you can see that that app icon on my phone actually matches what I just had on the screen there. So I just wanted to like reinforce that, why it's so important to go ahead and create your own app icon that's custom for it, just because that way it just looks really good. So thank you, team, for pulling that back up for me. I just wanted to like really reinforce that. Okay. So those are kind of some of the settings that are going on in there. So now that you've got all this initial stuff out of the way, you've got your address put in, you got your logo, you've gone ahead and made your background, all those things. Now let's talk about cards, shall we? So earlier I said cards, they are, gosh, they're like the bread and the butter of Church Connect. They really hold everything together. It is really the foundation of Church Connect in terms of just when you're building it. And these cards do so many different things. And so when you want to add a card into Church Connect, what you do is you click this add button here. And so when I click new card, I have the option of all these different cards that I can select from. And so the first card, the page card, that basically just opens people up to a little web page where you can put information if you're trying to share information to your people and have a lot of text or something of that nature. The link card takes them straight to another page. So if you're trying to link to your Facebook group or if you're trying to link to your podcast or live stream, that's a card you want to use. The form card, that's going to be one you use a lot because you're going to have different church forms, whether it's a connection form, a prayer request, volunteer, whatever it may be. Registration, that's going to pull from your events in your church. So if you're wanting to give your people an easy way to register for events, that's what you want to use. Giving card, that's going to take people to ChurchTrac online giving. Highly recommend. That's like one of the top 3 cards I would recommend having. Attendance gives people the ability to track attendance. A quote's nice because you can just put a quick quote or verse on there if you want to do that. Gallery card, you can put images on there. I've actually seen a lot of churches utilize this for their staff page, for churches that don't have websites and utilize Church Connect as their main website. And then video card, embed a video. An expandable card, it enables you to have information that expands out. So let's go ahead, let's add our first card, everybody. And I'm going to add, just because I stressed it a little earlier, I'm going to add the giving card. Now, in order to have this giving card work, by the way, you do have to have ChurchTrac online giving set up in advance. So just want to reinforce that. And by the way, if you are using another online giving provider and you still want to make it easy for your people to utilize that with Church Connect, you can actually just link to it with the link card, and I'll show a link card in a minute. So, all right, I click to add this giving card, but I want to customize it. And so I remember, I think it was maybe Jamal, how do you get your cards to look awesome? So Jamal, what I did is I actually just created some custom images on Canva. It's a free photo editor online that you can utilize. And so I'm going to pull this card image that I created. So when I go to edit this card, I'm going to click Edit Card. And now I have this area where I can put in like a header or title, card content, but I don't want to put any of that in there because I want to use my own custom image I actually created. So I'm going to drag and drop this image that I created on here. And there we go. There's my online giving card. You saw that a little earlier when I was showing off the other one. I just reused that one there. So now I've got that image added in here. Now I could add a title and stuff like that, but it's kind of unnecessary because I've already put the information in when I customized it in a photo editor online. So that way you can see that. All right, so I will close here. And again, just if you can't see these buttons here, I can go ahead and close out of there, or if I wanted to, I could delete the card from there. So I'm going to close out of that. So I've added that card. Now I just want to kind of reinforce some other settings here in your cards. So whenever you click a card, you've got some of these settings that you can use, such as card status. And what this means is you can have a card be displayed until the date below. And if the date below is just blank, then that means it's just going to always be displayed. So in this case, I always want it to be displayed. Now you can also have a card only displayed when a member is logged in, which is super cool. Or only when a member is not logged in. And so this is like when I was showing you a little earlier how Church Connect is kind of like two websites in one. Well, technically three if you count the member portal and stuff, but with being able to determine whether or not people see a card by whether or not they're logged in or not, you can really customize this experience to cater towards both members and people who are not members at your church. So it's just a really, really neat tool that a typical website's just not going to be able to do for you. So I'm going to keep that card always displayed, and we're going to leave it at that. Now let's go ahead, let's make another card, shall we? And I think the card that I'm going to create here, how about, you know what, the connection form card? Let's go ahead and tackle this one together. So I've got this connection card, and it's already one that was built in by default. It's kind of like one of our demo cards. But I'm going to edit this, and I want to make it my own, everybody, because that's what Church Connect's about. It's making it your own for your own ministry, because every ministry is unique and different. So I'm going to select this connection card. Now from here, I can go ahead and edit and customize it. So the first thing I'm going to do, I want to go ahead and put my image on there. I don't want to have all this stuff here, as great as that is, because I want something that is just really cool. And I already created something really cool. So I'm going to drag and drop that in here. And so here we go. Connect with potential. So I've got my own custom image dragged and dropped in there. And again, that title, I could leave that title if I wanted to, but I'm going to delete it just because I've already put all the text when I made that image that I just put on there. So I'm going to delete all this text. But you can keep it there. It just comes down to what you want to do. And we also give you the ability to change card backgrounds and the color of the text and stuff. So if you are in a situation where you're just needing to create like very simple buttons, you're not wanting to utilize images and stuff, you can still customize it to the colors of your church. So if your church has specific colors for your branding, you can do that. All right. So I've got that done. Let's go back to the card setup now. So now you can see it just changed over to my sweet image I created. I want to do some other stuff though. I actually want to edit the form, because right now as it stands, I have got form questions here. So if I go ahead and open this just to show you what I'm talking about. So I'll open it. And there's my Church Connect page so far. You can see it's starting to look a little bit better already. So if I click that, so as a church member, from here, I have this form that people can fill out. And so your name, I'm a first-time guest, second-time guest, regular tender, prayer request, my decision today, questions, comments. And so people can submit this form if they want to. So I'm just going to go ahead and submit it real quick just to show you what this looks like. So my name is Joe Montana. I am a first-time guest. How can we pray for you? I want to get back on the field. If anybody knows Joe Montana, it'd be funny. All right, so and my decision today is I want to speak with the pastor. I want to get to know the church more. Any questions, comments? No. And I'm also not a robot. So that's just a little fail-safe we have in place so that way people can't take advantage of submitting form after form after form if it's a robot. So, all right, so I just submitted that, and I'll tell you a little bit later about where those submissions go and everything. But I just wanted you to see just how quick and easy it is for people to fill out forms, because Church Connect, that's a big part of it, is having your people fill out forms for Church Connect that are maybe first-time guests. So Jamal says, a great name. All right, so I've got that filled out. Now, I want to make that my own. That was a great form and all, and by default, I mean, that's a pretty good, solid connection form, but I want to kind of change things up. So I can actually go back, click this card, and then I'm going to click form questions, because this is a form card. And so form questions. The Dolphins might win Joe Montana. Oh, you guys are a riot. All right, so from here, I can actually customize this out. I can actually have the add name and email fields to the form. I'm going to go ahead and do that because we need to capture the name and email address. And then I'm going to go ahead and delete this your name thing because I don't need that anymore since I'm already asking for their name automatically. And then if I wanted to, I could maybe say, you know what? I don't really care as much if they're a second-time guest. I just want to know, are you a first-time guest, a regular attender, or member? Or I can just say other. And so I'm editing this thing in real time, everybody. This is a form. This is a customized form that I am editing in real time. I can say whether or not I want this question to be required, by the way. I can also have questions show up on whether or not if a person is logged in or not, which is really cool. And so that way, if you have a form that asks for a person's name, but if they're already logged in, then you don't need to know their name, and then it just automatically doesn't show that. So it's kind of wild how much you can customize forms in Church Connect. And so from here, I could continue if I wanted to add anything else. And I'm just going to say, you know what, I don't want to have the join a small group here just because I have a whole nother process of what that looks like in my church, and I have a whole different card for that. I have another form that I want people to fill out. Questions, comments. I've already got prayer requests there, so I'm actually just going to delete this one just because questions and comments for my church, I don't want it. That's why I don't need an explanation. I just don't want it. Let's close. All right. So now I've just customized that form card. So again, there's so many different types of cards, and many of them have different options and stuff, and that form card gives you the ability to create these different form questions. One thing I really like is you can notify a specific ChurchTrac user, and so in this case, I've only got this user, but if I had additional users, then I could select those, or I could just select no one. So that way, every time that form gets filled out, nobody gets emailed that form. They have to log into ChurchTrac to see it. I thoroughly recommend, though, having a specific user notified, whether it's you as a pastor or the person that is the admin, whoever it may be. That way you get those form responses in real time. This is really great, too, if maybe you have a church member and there's an emergency and they had to go to the hospital, and just being able to get those very quickly to be able to act on that, it's a good thing. So that is kind of quickly just talking about the forms. One thing too worth mentioning, so you can actually adjust the roundness of all these cards too. That's part of the settings. I didn't touch on that earlier, but you can actually adjust that. So if you want to go for more the standard flat look, or you want the rounded look, you can do that in the settings. Let's do another card. One last card. We'll do two more just because there is another one I know I need to show you. Tim says, can you have more than one email it's sent to? No, it's just one email that you can select. But Tim, send that as a feature request via support ticket to us. That way our team has that. And if enough churches ask for that, maybe we can figure out a way to incorporate that. Good question. So I'm going to do a link card, everybody. So we'll add another card. And again, to add a card, you just click this new card button. Now, one little FYI, we're about to actually do a pretty big overhaul in the looks of ChurchTrac. The functionality is not going to change much, but this menu will slightly change. So what I'm showing you will be slightly different next week. So just kind of be ready for that. It's not a big enough change that's noteworthy, but it's still enough to where you just need to know about that. So I'm going to do a link card. Add this card. Okay, so now from here, I can go ahead, I can edit this card, I can put the URL I want the link to go to. So in this particular situation, I'm just going to copy a random URL of just a church podcast that I listen to. So there we go. I just threw in a church podcast. This could be a link to your church's live stream on YouTube. This could be a link to your podcast. Wherever you're trying to link people to at the link card, that's where you put that. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'll edit this card. and I'm going to use another image. So I could keep, putting in just headers and titles and stuff, but I'm visual and most people are visual, and you want to entice them to actually click cards. So I am going to use, I've got an image already created here. It's actually a pretty sweet image. By the way, I found these images, as much as I would like to say, like, I'm really good at making stuff, I'm not. I pulled all this off of Canva and just made some tweaks and made it my own. So I keep talking about Canva. I'll drop the link in chat for those of you who are like, he keeps talking about this thing called Canva. What is he talking about? I'm not trying to sell it to anybody. It's just, it happens to be a tool that I've found a lot of churches really love. And I started using it just because I'm always creating a lot of images here at ChurchTrac for different things that we're trying to promote, and it's just made my life easier. So I just threw that out there. As a church, you can actually get Canva for free, which is cool. So got my image added. I've got my link added. I'm done. From here, I mean, if I wanted to, I could go back to the card setup. I could say whether or not I want this card displayed if someone's logged in or not, but in this case, I always want it to be displayed. So we're going to hit close. All right, so now I've got another card added. So you can see these cards starting to stack up. I'm building this thing out, everybody. And now the next card I'm going to do one last card, everybody, just because I have to be cognizant of our time here. We are going to do an event card. And this is going to be able to give people the ability to register for an event. Now here's the caveat to an event card, is you have to have an event already created in ChurchTrac in the events and attendance screen. So once you have that event created and it's a registration event that you've made public, then you can go ahead, you can click New Card. And then from here, I'm going to click the registration card and click Add this card. Now here's what's interesting about this one. This one has a little bit less customization just because of the nature of it. And you will find that some of the cards in Church Connect, some have more customization than others because it just depends on what the card does. And in this particular situation, I almost said situation, I can only select which card that I want or which event. I only have one event created because this is a fresh ChurchTrac account I created just for this, so I only have the Fall Festival. So I'll click that. And look at that, it's actually pulling the image that I had dropped into the Fall Festival already when I created that event. So that's what the card's going to look like. And then people can click there to register for it. And then this is something I really, really recommend for event cards. A little earlier, we're talking about having a website that you want people to go to. One of the worst things you can do for a church website is have outdated content on there. Just to give you an example, so Jamal, Melissa, Tim, I saw a church website. They had a spaghetti dinner from, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, still on their website. And they didn't even know it was there. And it just made me wonder, like, how many people are even looking at your website if you have spaghetti dinner from 5 years ago? So this is why being able to automatically hide cards, and because it's easy to forget things, especially when you're running all the things in church, especially if you're a one-man show trying to do everything, and trying to remember to turn on and off cards, that can be a challenge. So really leverage this feature of being able to hide a card after a certain date. So in this situation, I'm going to say, okay, this event's happening on the 29th. After the 29th, bye-bye. It doesn't stay there anymore. It goes away. So that way I don't have people going to my website or downloading the app and then seeing an event from 4 years ago of a spaghetti dinner. That's the worst. I know. That was my reaction to Jamal. I was just like, wow, what? All right, so that is the event card. So now I'm going to hit close. So now you can really see this thing getting built out. It is just getting built out more and more as we go here. So if I actually wanted to go back, visit my Church Connect page again just to show you, look at this thing. It's getting built out. I've got all these cards that are stacking up. Pretty cool, huh? All right. So that's the process. I mean, obviously we can sit here forever and we could talk about the process of setting up each individual card. We just don't have time for that. But I want to talk about sharing your Church Connect with your people, because there's a few different ways you can do that. So first way is by sharing that URL that we talked about earlier, which I already customized my URL. And so I've got my npcc.churchtrac.com. So I can actually share this link with my people, whether you want to share it on social media, text it out to your people, however you want to do it. So that's one way. The other way is you can actually pull a QR code. So we generate a QR code for you, and you can download this QR code. And this gives you the ability to put this QR code basically anywhere. You can put this QR code on the back of the pews or the chairs in church. You can put this on your bulletin. You can put this QR code on t-shirts, on the door when people walk in the welcome center. I do not recommend putting it like on the wall in the bathroom because people are kind of weird whenever people start pulling out cameras to take pictures in bathrooms. I was at a church that did that once, and I mentioned it to them, and then the next week they stopped doing that. It was kind of funny. So yes, that is how you share your Church Connect. And just to show you, team, I'm going to ask you to crank up the phone here again, because I want to show how your people access it whenever they're using their phone and how they would download it. And so what I'll do, I've got my phone pulled out. I actually just open the camera. There's the QR code I just scanned with my phone. And then I just go to that website. And so now it's automatically prompting me to install this. So unlike an app in the App Store where you have to go search for it in the App Store and everything, this is so nice because all I have to do to install this app onto my phone, and this is an iPhone, but it's very similar in Android. So I just tap the Add to Home Screen. So I select the button. I scroll down just a hair to Add to Home Screen. I click Add. And it instantly goes ahead. It starts adding it. See my app icon that it already added in there? I created that. Super cool. I still can't believe I created that. Click Add. And there you go. So I have the app now added to my phone right then and there. And so it's just so neat how you can make it so easy for your people to be able to download this. True story. I was visiting a church once, and I wanted to donate to the church, and they were encouraging me, yeah, download our app. And so I went to the App Store like they told me to download the app to give online. So right before I get ready to give to the church, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't the right church. This is a different church. And I realized there were like multiple churches that had the same exact looking app icon in the Apple App Store, and I had accidentally downloaded the wrong one. I really appreciate how this works simply because you don't have to worry about people downloading the wrong app. It's very hard to download the wrong church's app. So that's just kind of a funny story. But anyways, so that's how you share it and your people can actually access it and everything. And one thing too worth mentioning, you can, if you already own a domain, so like maybe you already own npcc.org, you can actually forward that domain to the Church Connect URL that you've got here. So a lot of churches that I work with do that, and that way it's just a very, very seamless experience. So Jacob, that's a really good question. Everybody listen up. Jacob says, so is the app technically just a link to the web browser? No, it's not. It looks like it because the whole process appears just like adding a typical web page to your home screen, but it actually downloads a web application onto the phone, and it bypasses the app stores and the Google Play Store altogether, just making the whole process very seamless. And the reason we did this is because we found that one of the biggest problems with your typical apps that are in the App Store is anytime you have to do a lot of different things, such as give online, it takes you out of the app to give online, because if it didn't, you'd have to pay 30% to Apple. If you're trying to do something like go in a member directory, it's not going to work in the app, and so then it goes to the church website. And so that's kind of the beauty of Church Connect, is because it's an all-in-one unified platform, that it just works no matter whether you've downloaded the app, whether you're just visiting it on a website on your computer or the iPad or a phone, whatever. It just works. So really good question there. All right, so let's go ahead, let's move along, and let's quickly hit on the Connect users and form responses. So as people start creating Church Connect accounts, where you go to manage that is the Connect users. And so I don't have any users yet, but as they start rolling in, this is where I would actually go manage that and everything. And then as people fill out forms, I can actually go to form responses. And then from here, I can see all the different forms that people have filled out. I can actually export forms as well. So as you're going to get to a point where you're going to want to export forms, especially if you have certain things where a lot of people are filling out a form, and you can export that so you can look at it in Excel or Google Sheets or something. So we give you that option as well. So I just wanted to show that off. Okay, so very quickly I showed you how to build Church Connect from start to finish and gave you the, I guess that was about as quick as you can do it if you're trying to show off everything. I want to dive into something more now. I want to talk about really how you can get the most out of Church Connect, because it's one thing to build Church Connect, it's another thing to build it well. And so let's talk about some of the tips that we'd recommend that you do as you build out your Church Connect page. So the first tip, build according to your purpose and your audience. And the reason I say this is because they always say know your audience. So when you're building out your Church Connect, know your audience. If your audience is primarily more, like, let's say on the older side, then you probably don't want to have too many cards. I know one person asked, how many cards can I add? Is there a limit? No, there's not a limit. But at the same time, you don't want to have so many cards that people feel like they're on Instagram, just constantly scrolling. You don't want that. That's why I recommend usually limiting it to like no more than like 15 cards at most, just because you have to keep in mind, people are having to scroll on a phone. Most people, when they view Church Connect, they're doing it from a phone. So always remember that. And as you know your audience and your purpose for this, is Church Connect going to be your main website? Is Church Connect going to be geared specifically towards your members from a link that goes from your regular website to Church Connect for them? And so kind of think through that, because how you build Church Connect is very different if you're gearing it towards anybody or if you're gearing it just towards members. So think through that as you go through. All right, tip number 2. This is a pretty simple one. Put your most important cards to the top. And so the way you do that is you can actually go to Church Connect, and then from here, I have this button here, Sort Cards. And like I said a little earlier, this is going to slightly change when we come out with this update next week, but you're going to figure it out real quick. It's very simple. So I've got all these cards here, so I can actually change the order of the cards. And so I can say, you know what, this announcement, let's say I had customized this announcement up, and then I can move that up here. And so that way I can just move the order of the cards. There really is no hard science into which cards you should have first, but I will say typically what I find is a lot of churches, their top 5 cards are a connection card and a giving card. I tend to lean towards at least having those 2 in your top 5, just because those are 2 of the biggest reasons that people would go to your page. And if you're using this as like your main website, like some of you may be doing, then you probably want to have like times and location in that top 5 as well. This brings me back to, I think it was MySpace that had the top 5 or something. Team, remind me, what was it, top 5 or top 7? I can't remember. I'm sure someone in the chat will tell me. Now I'm starting to age myself. There may be some people in here that's like, MySpace, what's MySpace? Okay, so that was tip number 2. Put your most important cards to the top. All right, now keep your content fresh. That's number 3. So one of the biggest challenges that some churches have is they're like, man, no one's going to our website, no one's looking at all the good stuff. And I'm like, well, are you putting any good stuff on your website? Well, I mean, not really. You need to keep your content fresh. And because Church Connect, we've made it so easy to where one person said earlier, oh, I have to reach out to someone else to, put things on our website. Because we've made it so easy that you don't have to wait on someone else, you can do it yourself. Start thinking about the things that you can put on your website and give people a reason to visit your website. That's something one pastor was telling me that I was working with a few weeks ago. He was just like, Wes, I'm always giving people a reason to come to the site, whether it's a blog post where I answered some of the most common questions that people asked after the sermon, or I have a form that people fill out where they answer questions after the sermon. There's so many cool things that you can do, but give people a reason to go to your website, even if it's encouraging them to go rewatch the live stream. Have reasons to go back. Keep your content fresh. Okay, tip number 4, don't forget to add your logo and your app icon. It just looks so much better when you have your logo and your app icon on there. It makes it look so clean. I mean, every time I look at my phone and I see that app icon, I'm just like, man, that looks good. So do that. Now, tip number 5, and this is, out of all the ones, this is the one that is probably the most important, and you have complete control over this. Talk about Church Connect a lot. A lot. I think, what movie was that where he was like, a lot? You need to talk about Church Connect a lot with your people, and I'm talking from the pulpit. Mention Church Connect. Mention to your people that they can download this app to be able to see what's coming up next. Or email your people. You can utilize ChurchTrac mail. I don't want to go off too much in a tangent, but just back to our software here real fast. I can hop on the people screen really quickly, as long as I go to the right screen here. So I hop to the people screen, and then if you didn't know this, you can actually send out mass emails to people. And so I can go and click email and then send out a mass email to all my people. I could put in my Church Connect link and just remind everybody, hey, download our app, so that way you can be in the loop and all things going on. You can submit prayer requests, all the good stuff. Or maybe send out a mass text message. I don't have it enabled for this account yet, but we have mass text messaging built right into the software. Highly encourage it. A lot of churches I've actually worked with that sent out a mass text to their people with their Church Connect URL. They saw like 50% increase in traffic in just the one day because they had so many people just sign up and create Church Connect accounts. Another way, social. Talk about it on social media. Put it on the Instagram. Put it on Facebook. Put it on Twitter if you use Twitter. Put it on Pinterest if for some reason your church uses Pinterest. Wherever you can think of. The bulletin. Put it in the bulletin. Put it in flyers. Wherever you can think of to share it. Talk about it a lot. That is probably the number one way to get people to go to Church Connect, is to just talk about it. Just talk about it every which way you can think of. I know we feel like broken records sometimes in ministry. How many times have you heard someone say, I didn't know about that? You just ask them, hey, did you know about this? And they're like, oh, I didn't know about that. Well, it's because we have to talk about things a lot. So. All right, well, that is all the things. So we've gone through what Church Connect is. We talked about how to share it and all the things and customize it, create it, and then talked about how to get the most out of it. So here's what I want to do. I want to go ahead and just open up the time for Q&A. And we have a pretty big crowd here today in terms of, this is much bigger than like my Getting Started workshops where I keep them limited to around a dozen. We have quadruple that almost here. So here's what I want to do. Let me know in the chat what questions you have. My team is going to start fielding through your questions, and they're going to start messaging me these questions, so that way I don't have to use this tiny little screen as I go through it. And I'm prepared to stay here as long as it takes to answer your questions. And I'm just going to let my team know that there's a few questions I do remember already answering. So some of the ones you've already sent me, I've kind of already answered that. But I'm going to start going through on these. And so the process to set up an attendance card, I'm going to go ahead. I saw your question earlier in that. Look at our user guide. Our user guide actually walks through that whole process. So check that out. Just click that help button on the top right, and you can do that. Yes, this will be available on YouTube. I saw Frank asking that. Von Cius asked the limit how many cards. I already answered that. There is no limit, but I definitely encourage you not to go so crazy that your people feel like they're just scrolling on Instagram. All right, other questions here. Someone said you were thinking of the Dumb and Dumber quote a lot. That's right, I was. A lot. I've heard it said that for every 10 times you talk about things as staff, your people hear it once or twice. That is so true. Someone mentioned that. Okay, Rick, can we separate our main logo from our app logo, since a full logo won't necessarily look as good on an app icon? Rick, thank you so much for asking this question. And you already said ignore my message. I found it, I think, but no. So I encourage you not to use the same icon or same photo that you use for your, oh goodness, I just forgot what it's called. Your logo of your church. So just to jump onto my screen real quick, when you go to your settings and you upload your logo of your church in those admin settings, don't use that for your app icon. Please, please, please don't. It's going to look so bad as an app icon. And the reason for that is an app icon is 256 by 256 pixels. It's super, super tiny. It's this little itty bitty square. And if you try to put a logo that has a lot of text and stuff on there, it's just going to look like trash, to be brutally honest. And so what I recommend is keeping it super simple. Use some sort of photo editor. Again, there's so many free photo editors online that you can use. And so whenever you go to do that, again, that's the Connect settings. And then when you scroll down, you have that Connect app icon. We actually tell you to use 256 by 256 as a PNG file. So it needs to be those exact specifications, so that way it looks great on either an iOS or Android device. So that is that. And you can see mine, there's nothing complicated about mine. Mine's almost a little bit too complicated for being an app icon, if I'm being brutally honest here. And look at other churches at their app icons too to get some inspiration. Jump on our Facebook group and ask other churches to provide a picture of theirs too. All right, let's see here. Other questions. How difficult is it to set up direct giving? That's from Joseph. Yeah, that's a really good question because Church Connect and online giving through ChurchTrac, I mean, they're kind of the same thing. I mean, Church Connect is online giving and online giving is Church Connect because they're a part of the same platform there. It's not hard. In fact, we have a video that walks you through that whole process. And I would encourage you, just go to our online user guide. So again, click that help button, show all help topics. And then we have this wonderful, wonderful section on giving and online giving. And then here you can find that article in which we go into great detail about how to actually set that up and everything. And I think it's right. There it is, setting up online giving. We have a video that walks you through it too. It only takes about 20 minutes. You just need to have your basic information for your church and everything. Y'all keep bringing these questions. We have some really good questions here. I love answering these questions. That's what it's all about. Kind of to take a quick little break in between questions, I just want to encourage everybody, probably the two best resources we have besides using our built-in help and reaching out to us and all that, is probably that YouTube channel. Because if you're like me and you like to watch videos and learn things, I mean, that's where you're going to not only see step-by-steps of how to use different features in the software, but that's where you're going to watch like what we're doing right now. So what I'm currently doing is going to be watched and played in the future for years to come or until they take down the video. So all of our webinars and workshops and live streams, they post those there. And then our Facebook group, that's just, I love Facebook groups. I'm a part of so many different groups. Let me know in the chat if you're a part of a lot of different groups on Facebook. But I just love joining groups for things that I'm a part of. So like whether it's me as a worship leader, I'm a part of multiple worship leader groups just so I can stay on top of all the cool things that are happening and know about neat songs that are coming out. But also just being a part of a group like this ChurchTrac users group. It's just so great because you kind of get you get the inside scoop on cool things that are happening, like the fact that we just dropped a little hint on the group about our new features coming out next week. That's pretty cool. But it's just such a great place to talk to other people around the world that are using the software just like you are in your shoes to learn new things. So great place to go. All right, back to the questions, everybody. My team's like, go back to the questions, man. Stop talking about YouTube and Facebook. All right, back to the questions. All right, so Patty's asking, can you lock the order of the cards? So that's a good question, Patty. So the order of the cards are locked in, and then that's why we give you the option to be able to move them up or down. The reason that you may be asking this is because you see them kind of change whenever you go from different device sizes. So it's going to go in the order from which you put them. So if I go back to the screen, I'm like explaining it when I should just show you visually what this looks like. But it's going to go kind of like from left to right and do that. And so whenever you build your Church Connect page, this is something I'd recommend. And this is a cool feature we actually have in here. You can actually preview on a small, preview on a tablet, or preview on a desktop. I would thoroughly, thoroughly recommend that you preview your Church Connect on a phone every single time you build it. And the reason I say this is because the vast majority of people that go to your Church Connect are doing so on a mobile device. They're not doing so from a desktop computer. Fun fact, we just crossed the threshold the other day, and it was over 52% of people that are going on the internet are doing so on a mobile device. Now, I don't have hard statistics on church websites per se, but I have heard from a lot of industry leaders that are in the website realm that when it comes to things like church websites, those numbers can be as high as 70%. That means the majority of people going to your website, they're doing so from a mobile device. So I'm not going to say completely throw out the notion of how you create things for your desktop experience, but your mobile experience, mobile is now, mobile is the future. So keep that first, foremost priority as you order those cards. Good question. All right. Other questions here. Oh, so this is one I didn't see earlier. So how can you reach out to a person who has no idea of technology? This is actually, I've had this asked multiple times because in the church setting, we have a lot of people, churches, we have people of all ages and all levels of familiarity with technology. And so there are some people in your church that just, they have a hard time adopting things like this. And so what I've seen a lot of churches do that works really well is they'll have a time set aside at the end of the service or before the service, and they'll actually talk about it and remind people, hey, our church has switched to this new way of how we've managed things and how we do prayer requests and fill out forms and cards, or how we connect with each other. And we want to get everyone plugged in, and we want everyone to be able to have access to all these features. And so that's just a part of maybe having a time set up to help those people, even if it means walking by side and like showing them on their own phone how to do it. My church actually does this pretty well, just by having a time where they say, hey, after the church, come to the Welcome Center if you need help setting this up, and one of our people will be more than happy to help you set that up. So that's probably the best way to do it, is just tell them to come by the Welcome Center after. All right, other questions? All right, so this one's from Jamal. How can someone change their profile pic with Church Connect, and does it sync with ChurchTrac people? Yeah, so the way they do that, I'll show you. So I'm going to ask my team. We're going to fire up I always say fire up like we have to get a grill started here, but no, it's just turning on a button. So to my Church Connect app, and so I'm going to sign in here real fast. Oh, I'm actually signed in the wrong one. I got to go to mine. There we go. So I'm signed in here, and so if I click that menu button, and then I go to my profile, so this is where I can go ahead and see that remove photo button. So I can actually remove that photo and then add in whatever photo I want. And this is an option you can actually turn on or off in the people screen, or it's actually in Church Connect in your options there. And then you can also give your people the ability to add family photos too. And all this information, I just want to reinforce this, and why this is so great is when your people update this information, this applies to the people screen in ChurchTrac, which is so awesome. I just love that because it really gives me the ability to push this more so on our people, that when we need updated information from them, and it kind of is a twofer. It gives them a reason to create a Church Connect account and everything. So really good. So Melissa is asking, can you change what the app is named when you add it to your phone home screen? So Melissa, you actually can on an iOS device, because initially when it's adding it, it gives you the ability to name it whatever they want. It's going by default to just say Church Connect, but your people, or it actually just says Connect, my bad. But your people, if they wanted to, they could rename it to anything. But most people are not going to rename it. They're just going to leave it as it is and just continue. So good question. So this is another question from Melissa, and this is actually a really good question. Everybody listen up on this. What size do you recommend for the card images? So in our user guide, we talk about it. And the only reason I'm referencing is our user guide is because I just forgot what that exact dimension is. It doesn't have to be that dimension, but to really make it look the best, because it'll automatically resize cards and everything, we do have a specific size we recommend. So if you go to the Church Connect articles, and then you go to creating and editing cards, and then we have a little blip on here. There it is. So the native width on Church Connect is 1,200 pixels wide. So I recommend any image you create in whatever image program you are using, photo editing program, make it 1,200 pixels wide, and do not make it more than 1,200 pixels tall. I don't recommend having cards that are bigger than a square. It just looks really strange on a Church Connect app to have just a super long, unnecessarily long button there. Because you got to keep in mind, these are kind of like buttons that people are clicking. I lean more towards incorporating a mixture of having some that are maybe squares that are 1,200 by 1,200, and then having some that are like 1,200 by 600. So that way, it just looks more pleasing to the eye, I feel like. But it just comes down to what you want to do. And just to reinforce that, I mean, just to show you on my Church Connect of my different images that I've got. So that records your attendance. You can see, I mean, that one is one that's only a few hundred pixels tall, but then the other one, Connect with Us, that one I have taller. And so that one's a 1,200 by 1,200. And then the next one down is a 1,200 by 600. And so it really looks great, I feel like, whenever you have a mixture of like ones that are 1200 by 1200 and 1200 by 600. And if you're listening to me like right now and you're like, Wes, I have no idea what you're talking about, pixels and 1200, what in the world? Just reach out to our support team. We'll help you out with this. We're here with you. We'll help you. All right. Jane, can you show how to create a user that has security access to only certain features? So Jane, I would encourage you, go to our user guide and check this out, because this is kind of outside of Church Connect. I want to focus just on Church Connect today. But that's all in the settings and the user accounts where you can do that, Jane. Hannah, is there a way to make prayer requests public? I know certain requests are put on a prayer chain, etc. Would you make a card for that? Hannah, that's a really good point. Because a lot of churches, they want an easy way to be able to put prayer requests out there and everything. What I have seen some churches do is they create a prayer request form card, and then they'll have a, can we make this public? Yes or no, and then when someone checks yes, and then the person that gets all those responses, they will put those up on a page card. And so that way everybody can go to that. You have to be extremely careful with this kind of stuff. That's the last thing you want to do is just start throwing off prayer requests from people all over the place and put it out in the wild, because as you know, Jane, once you put something on the internet, or I'm sorry, Hannah, once you put something on the internet, it's available to anybody. And so that's just something kind of on a side note for just when you're doing Church Connect and doing anything web related, always keep in mind that there could be someone trying to go to your website that's not going to your website for the right reasons. And so that's why we always recommend just kind of being smart and safe with the data that you put online. You don't want to put people's home addresses on Church Connect, view to anybody and everybody who wants to view them, things like that, just because there are people out there in the world that are crazy. All right, Jamal, how do I reassure members their personal inform is safe and secure? So Jamal, man, you and I are in sync today talking about this stuff. So I didn't even see your question until after I got done with that whole spiel on security. So the way I would really do that is just reassure them by showing that, hey, we don't put information on Church Connect that is inappropriate to be in a public forum. The only information we put on Church Connect is information that we have deemed appropriate, that we have deemed is safe to put online. And the other thing too I want to really stress is we have really taken security to a whole nother level. Recently we have seen here at ChurchTrac a lot of hackers that, I don't even want to say hackers, these are people that are in other countries, but they will pose as people that are in your church, and they will create a church account, not just Church Connect, but we've seen it with other companies and their platforms, because they want to get access to a member directory. So that way they can then pull the information of everybody in that online directory and then send scam emails to them and stuff. And so we have taken like a whole extra level of security with that in mind to really make it hard for someone to pose as someone who's not actually a member at your church to get access to an online directory. There's multiple levels of defense that we put in there for you as an admin to be able to lock down your member directory and all the information that you have going on in there. So we have the highest level of security when it comes to all that. All right. Well, one thing I don't want to forget is the Church Connect Challenge. So check out our blog. I want to encourage everyone. Those are all the questions I think there. So if you go on our main website, and if you go to resources, blog, we have this latest article, Church Connect Challenge. Now, I'm going to have the system automatically send out this challenge to everybody, but I will go ahead, I will post this in the chat. Thank you, team, for reminding me of that. I was so deep in the questions, I forgot, like, this is one of the biggest things ever. So the Church Connect Challenge, what is this? This is an opportunity for you to build out your Church Connect. You send us a before and after, and if your before is the default, then that's fine. But if you haven't built anything yet, you send us your before and after, and we will then look at all of the submissions. So you just submit that to connect@churchtrac.com with a screenshot of your before, and then you send us your after photo before the deadline. And then we will look at all the submissions, and the person that our judges selects gets free ChurchTrac for a year. So yes, the stakes are high. You could win free ChurchTrac for a year with the Church Connect Challenge. This is our first time ever doing this, and we're super pumped. We can't wait to see what churches do and how they create their pages and all the cool cards that they make. So go ahead, join that challenge. It's just connect@churchtrac.com. Send us an email with your current Church Connect page. You need to take a screenshot of that. Follow all the directions we have in the blog post. It lays it out perfectly for you and for your chance to win a free ChurchTrac for a year. So, all right. Well, don't forget YouTube, Facebook, all the things. You all have been fantastic. I appreciate each and every one of you. Here at ChurchTrac, our goal is to be able to equip you, the church, to build the body of Christ, and we're so excited to do that with you. If you have any other questions, just reach out. You know how to get in touch with us. We will see you all later. See ya.